Well lads, Wrath of the Druids DLC is finally here for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and it seems like fans are really disappointed after finally getting to play the DLC. And of course there are a few bunch of people who actually did enjoy the game nonetheless. And one big reason why the community is extremely angry at this point is because Wrath of the Druids at the end of the day is an Assassin's Creed games expansion. Now obviously the reason why is because in the expansion you do not get to play as an assassin, nor do you get to meet an assassin, or even the story doesn't have any relation towards the assassins or even the Templars. Now one thing that really shocked me is because of course even though we don't have any assassins in the main storyline, but at least we still had a ton of story that kind of related all the way to the Templars. But then in Wrath of the Druids it doesn't even seem like there is any story at all that is related to the Templars. It's pretty much a cult named the Children of Danu who are basically against the Christian kingdom, and Eivor is out there in Ireland helping his Viking brother, basically trying the Christian kings to trust the pagans. And that is pretty much the entire storyline here. And obviously since we are playing an Assassin's Creed game, fans are of course going to be expecting something related to the assassins. And now at this point it seems like Ubisoft has finally given up on this franchise. It seems like Ubisoft is just using the name of the franchise called Assassin's Creed and trying to sell an entirely different game, but then since it's named Assassin's Creed, it's obviously going to get a lot of sales because the franchise is well known between the fans and the community itself, and people are of course going to buy the next Assassin's Creed game, right? And obviously if you compare the sales of Immortal Phoenix Rising, which was pretty much the same as what Assassin's Creed games are these days, and compare the sales between how much copies did Assassin's Creed Valhalla sell, even Odyssey or even Origins, compare all of those to Immortal Phoenix Rising. Now obviously the sales for that game is nowhere near close to what Assassin's Creed games sells these days. And since we already know and we are familiar with how RPG games work these days, it seems like Ubisoft thinks that when they make an open world RPG game which has a ton of new mythical stuff, loot system and all those kind of bullshit in an Assassin's Creed game, they could easily make a ton of money using microtransactions with all of these different gear pieces, new items, new skins and whatnot. But when you make a game like Ghost of Tsushima for example, or even the old school Assassin's Creed games, now obviously when it comes to games like those, you don't really have a vast majority of options here in order to add in as much microtransactions and selling new skins, gear sets and blah blah blah, whatever they want to be selling, making money from. So that is one big reason why we are currently getting a ton of mythical stuff, a ton of RPG bullshit that is being added into Assassin's Creed franchise. And that is also one of the biggest reasons why we are not going back to how the old school Assassin's Creed games. And now if you take a look at Wrath of the Druids DLC, it is pretty much you fighting monsters, mythical werewolves, and you're basically fighting some kind of a druid cult that can transform into whatever animals they want. And the only simple bullshit reasoning that Ubisoft wants to give us is that Eivor inhales gas and then everything that happens is pretty much mythical. And at this point it just seems like the gas and dreams is just some kind of a loophole for Ubisoft in order to just squeeze in all of the mythical stuff they can so that they can start releasing as much mythical skins, new gear sets and all the stuff. And since now they have an explanation that Eivor inhales gas or even goes to sleep and then dreams about all these monsters and mythical stuff, they could obviously start selling some of the mythical gears on the Ubisoft stores. Because when it comes to skins, it seems like people are actually more attracted to all of these mythical stuff rather than the skins being realistic. Because anytime they release a much more of a realistic skin, people don't tend to get more attracted, and those type of skins don't sell as much as what the mythical stuff does. And that is one of the biggest reasons why Ubisoft is currently adding in so much mythology and basically ruining the entire Assassin's Creed franchise and what the old school games have basically represented for all these years. Now obviously I would love if Ubisoft could go back to games like Assassin's Creed Unity, Assassin's Creed 3 or Black Flag, because those games are of course a huge piece of jewel. And I really hope that the leaks that we basically talked about on my recent video, where the next Assassin's Creed game is supposed to be set in a semi-open world and then the story is going to be much more linear and it's not going to be any sort of RPG bullshit. We're pretty much going all the way back to what the old school Assassin's Creed games were, and maybe they could kind of add in some kind of a little bit RPG elements in the game as well. It doesn't really matter because Ubisoft seems to be loving a lot of RPG RPG, and that makes them a lot of money as well. But as long as they can keep the game like Assassin's Creed Origins, which was pretty much focused on the Assassins and Templars, and the storyline was absolutely gorgeous, and so was the open world, the gameplay, and everything was perfect in Assassin's Creed Origins. And if Ubisoft could start pulling off some of the masterpieces like that on the next Creed game, then I think that would be just perfect for the future of Assassin's Creed franchise. So I would love to know what your opinions are. Let me know down below in the comments. Did you guys try out Wrath of the Druids DLC expansion? And if at all you did, then let me know what your opinions are about that DLC expansion. I would love to see what you guys have to say in the comments. I would of course go through every single comments that you guys post on this video, and I just love to see what all the different opinions are. Then your comments could of course let them know what kind of Assassin's Creed game would you guys like to see on the next Creed title. So please, for the love of God, I'm asking every single one of you guys to go ahead and put your comments and opinions down below. So if there is a 1% chance at least that Ubisoft watches your comments or reads your comments, that would absolutely help change their minds as well. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly go ahead and make this video basically talking about what I personally felt about the new expansion, and I really wanted to get this out of my chest because I honestly wasn't as satisfied with what I played in Wrath of the Druid. So that is something I really wanted to let out to the community. If you guys want to see the next Creed game to be something like that, then leave a like on this video. I'd love to see what your opinions are. And with that being said, lads, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. Until then, take it easy, fams, and goodbye.